Good morning. We are now live. Good morning, Peekskill. Thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Vanessa, and I am one of your Peekskill City Council members. I'm very excited to be welcoming you all to another week of our Peekskill Coronavirus Community Update calls. The purpose of these calls is to create a space for community leaders to convene in a COVID-safe way with the intention of helping members of the public to understand and support efforts to respond to the coronavirus crisis by providing weekly updates from key agencies, including ways in which we can all pitch in and lessen the burden. These calls happen on a weekly basis every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. We live stream these calls, as you can see, on our City of Peekskill Facebook page. If you are watching via Facebook, please share it on your page, share it to your groups. We want to make sure that all the information that is being disseminated today and shared today is reaching as many of our Peekskill residents as possible. Every week we will be rotating different stakeholders to give the public the ability to hear from a variety of agencies, as well as different departments here at the City of Peekskill. But today we will be hearing from Valerie Eaton, who is the president of our Peekskill NAACP, Dr. David Mauricio, the superintendent of the Peekskill City School District, Crystal Hernandez, the principal of Oakside Elementary School, Ben Bolton and Nalini Purvis from HRH Care, Shari Sanchez from Legal Services of the Hudson Valley, and then I will be giving a quick update on the farmers market reopening, which we're really excited about this weekend. So before we get started into our agenda, I'm going to pass it over to Mayor Rainey to open us up.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Everyone tuning in, thanks for tuning in. To everyone that was able to make it on this call this morning, all you wonderful stakeholders, thank you sincerely for joining us and sharing the information that you're going to share with us today. These weekly calls have been extremely informative for the community and very productive as well. And I do encourage the people who are watching these interviews for if you have if you want more information on exactly what the city is doing to address the COVID crisis, you can definitely check out the city website at cityofpeekskill.com. You can also check out our city Facebook page, which you're probably watching this on right now. And you can also check out our government channel for more information on what the city's doing specifically to address the COVID virus. But for everyone else, I thank you sincerely for taking time out of your day to give information to our community on what we can do to help and how we can work together and continue moving forward to get through this process. So I'm looking forward to hearing the information from all of you today. And thanks again for joining.
Thank you, Mayor. And as the mayor said, we will be publishing this on the City of Peekskill website, as well as broadcasting this throughout the week on our government channel. And if folks have any questions, for those of you who are tuning in via Facebook, we do have our city manager watching the comments section. So please feel free to ask any questions via comments, and we'll make sure that those get answered as we go through our updates. So to start us off, I'm going to be passing it over to our great NAACP President, Valerie Eaton. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
And thank you, Councilperson Agudello. Thank you, Mayor Rainey. Thank you, everyone, actually, that's on this call for sharing the information that you have to give. And I thank you, Peekskill area. So, I was asked to be on this call to kind of give a little bit of an update on our response from the NAACP on the George Floyd situation. And as you all know, we did have a Standing in Solidarity event at the riverfront this past Saturday. A lot of you were not able to make it. That's great. We had I think there was one or two other ones that were at different times. I think it is phenomenal that people are coming out at whatever time that they came out to stand in solidarity, to voice their emotion. And I say that with emphasis because rallies, standing in solidarity, protests, that's an emotional thing. And we hope that it has some kind of effect, a positive effect on our community as a whole. And it has. We got a conviction. The murder charge was brought down to I don't want to say down, but brought up to second degree. The other 3 officers were arrested, but now it's time to take action. Every protest, every rally, every standing in solidarity has to have a goal. I think we accomplished that goal on Saturday. We saw our community come out in great numbers, just showing how much we are in opposition to the injustices that have been happening. And as I said Saturday, we can't do it alone. The NAACP has a very good grasp on how to strategically change the narrative of America. And that is to attack things in separate, different areas: health, education, criminal justice, environmental justice. I would be remiss if I did not thank all of the chairs and the co-chairs of our Peekskill area branch of the NAACP. And I am going to name them one by one. I know I got a limited time to talk, so I'm going to be really, really fast. But I would ask you to take note of this, because these are people that have already been doing the work. We've already been doing the work. This is not new to us. Okay, but now it's at a level at which people are now seeing. It's so funny, this is 2020. We're in the middle of a pandemic. My God, 2020, perfect vision, right? People who did not want to see the issues now see it. So just think about that for a minute. But I just want to thank our health chair, Eddie Freed, our criminal justice chairs, Roosevelt Rose and Cece Hankins. I want to thank the civic engagement team, Keisha Palmer Cousins, Ellen Hilton, Megan Kelly, and Jacqueline Baker as our education committee chairs, Ramona Massenberg, who is our membership chair, and John Smith, who is our co-chair, Elizabeth Phillips Branchcombe, and Martin McDonald, who are co-chairs of the Economic Empowerment Committee. I want to thank Vanessa Aguadello and Jay Buckowitz, who is our Environmental Justice Committee chairs. And I want to also thank Janice Thompson, who co-chairs with me on PR and communication. So I wear a lot of hats, but many hands make light work. Okay. And as I said before, now is time to take action. So I would ask Peekskill as a whole, the Peekskill area as a whole, to join with us in this fight against inequality, to join with us to say no more, to join with us to say we are done dying. Today I posted on our NAACP Facebook page, we are doing a moment of silence today. It's after 3 o'clock, just to pay respect to the burial of George Floyd. And this is, it's more than the burial of George Floyd. Really, to me, this moment of silence is for every person who has lost their life senselessly and at the hands of police brutality. The NAACP is calling for action. It's calling for police reform, okay? We have a great relationship in this town with Chief Halmy and the rest of his team, and he has done a phenomenal job in communicating with us. And I say us because, we have to have a personal relationship with our police department. And I think without that, we fail. Because we're all human beings at the end of the day. And so we will be talking more to Chief Halmy to make sure that our communication is even more so, and that our community feels safe when they see police officers and not feel threatened. So as it relates to the overall aim of these weekly calls or biweekly calls, in terms of COVID, we are still doing virtual meetings. We're still doing every 4th Tuesday, we're still doing our general meeting, but it is virtual. Saturday, when we got together at the riverfront, I strongly emphasized social distancing. Everyone there had a mask on. I was very proud of our town. We have to continue to do that. It's not over. And I don't want to see us relapse into an area where our numbers start going up as it relates to that. And I also want to say one more thing. We are true advocates for people getting out to vote, as well as filling out the census. So whoever is watching this, if you did not fill out the census, please, please, please. Our town has over 25,000 people as far as I'm concerned. I know that the numbers have fluctuated. I know that we have been underrepresented. It is time for us to be represented in a positive manner where we're getting the funds we need for education, housing, et cetera, et cetera. We do need our census to be filled out. So that is mostly what I have to share with you all. If you have any questions, certainly I have told everyone you can email us at peaceskillnaacp@gmail.com. You can go to our website, peaceskillnaacp.org. You can go to us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube. If you're looking for us, you'll find us. So I hope to see all of you as members, actually, and it's only $30 for the year, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Eaton, for those very, very powerful words. We really appreciate you jumping on this call to share that with us. We're seeing how the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery is completely shaking up our country, and a lot of people who've never taken the streets are taking the streets, and we have to point them towards actionable items that they can take to truly change the material conditions around them. And so I really appreciate the work the NAACP is doing, and I'm very proud to be on that executive board with such leaders with such integrity. And so I just praise you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah, actually, a couple people are leaving some messages on the Facebook page. One of them is simply asking for a repeat on the details of the moment of silence, and if there's a place to find out more information about that.
Yes, as I said, I just posted on my Facebook page, on our Facebook page, Peaceskill NAACP. You can look that up there. I'll actually put it in the chat. You guys can just put it on the city website or the city Facebook page, as well as you can go to the national site. This just got put out, so we don't have it on the Peaceskill website. So if you go to naacp.org, you'll learn more about what that means and what time it is and everything.
Okay, that was one question. I actually have another one for Ms. Eaton as well. This one, and by the way, there are about 22 people watching live right now. We usually get 20 to 30 and then a bunch of people clicking afterwards. So there's another question. This is from a Daniel Reynolds. It's lovely to see people showing up outside for rallies. Let's hope they vote. And then sort of asking about specific policy advocacy points related to police reform, if you want to speak to what you're seeing around the country or what you're working for.
I can actually be very specific about that. If you just give me a second here, I can kind of pull it up and read it verbatim so I don't misspeak. Just give me a moment. Is there any other question while I'm looking this up?
That was the main one. We're getting other questions related to the reopening process, but we'll get into that later.
Okay.
If you don't actually, one of the things that for that question, because I know that there's Communities United for Police Reform, which has been kind of the big organization who's been working around passing state legislation to reform police departments. They're calling on for the repeal of 50A, which is on a state level. Which is a state law that lets police departments hide officer misconduct and discipline information. So that is what I'm seeing a lot of groups coalesce around. So if folks want to call their state elected assembly members, state senators, asking them to repeal 50A, that is the biggest piece of legislation that folks can take action on.
Correct. And so some bullet points on what that includes. The federal legislation must include the following principles: a ban on the use of knee holds and choke holds as an acceptable practice for police officers. The use of force continuum for any police department in the country must ensure that there are at least 6 levels of steps with clear rules on escalation. Each state's Open Records Act must ensure officer misconduct information and disciplinary histories are not shielded from the public. Recertification credentials may be denied for police officers if determined that their use of deadly force was unwarranted by federal guidelines, and implementation of citizens review boards in municipalities to hold police departments accountable and build public confidence. So that is it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions? Any folks on the phone have questions for?
That's what I've got for Facebook right now. Thank you.
Okay, great. Alrighty, well, thank you again, President Eaton, for joining us. I know that you have to get off soon, but we really appreciate you joining us this morning. Now I'm going to pass it over to our Peekskill City School District team. Dr. Mauricio, if you want to start us off.
Yes. Thank you so much, Councilperson Agudelo, City Manager Stewart, and Mayor Rainey, and everyone on this call and everyone logged in through the community. It's a perfect scenario, segue for me to follow President Valerie Eaton of the NAACP, because it is education is about social justice. It's about making sure that our kids have the civil rights of literacy. It's also about making sure our kids are prepared for the best college career fields that they so dream, and that we expand their horizons. One of the, and her words were so inspiring that I did want to just add this one brief point, is that internet access is now like food, clothing, and economics in our homes. It is no longer a luxury to have internet access. I remember growing up in New York City, we didn't have cable, and I felt bad about that because my friends did, but I could survive without cable. Our children cannot survive without internet access. It is a right, I would say, in our communities and in our homes. So I think we all have to do as much as we can to make sure. And that's what one of the things that this pandemic has shared with us, not only in Peekskill, but even in wealthier communities, they have found their families don't have adequate internet access and technology. So thank you, so much, President Eaton. I would also like to share that I thank President Eaton and Megan Kelly for sending a letter to me. We are working on a response back to them. They are really holding us accountable for diversity recruitment of our staff, so that our children see people who look like them. And that means African-American men, women, Latinos, Asians, Caucasians. And so that is something that we are proud. We passed a board policy last year to do that, and we are making our gains. We just hired a phenomenal physical education teacher, a young African-American woman from Ossining, and we continue to hire individuals based on linguistics and diversity, and also we want to hire men in our elementary schools. We want to hire just a variety of different, and we look at diversity holistically, but that is very important. And then they also talk to us about distance learning and making sure that we have great plans for our children, and I'll speak just very briefly about that. We sent a letter to all of our Peekskill families and students related to George Floyd's death, and we will be hosting through board member and Peekskill NAACP member as well, Sam North, a town hall where students will meet with our Mayor Rainey and different elected officials from Ossining and Peekskill, and be able to share with them their thoughts and their suggestions for action. And this is going to be an action-oriented meeting, as President Eaton said. That we want to continue to recognize the death of people who have lost their lives. I have friends who've lost their lives to violence, but we need action, right? And so I really appreciate all that you're doing in all of our groups. So thank you for that. Last night I had a chance of joining Council Member Fernandez, Hablamos de Peekskill, a show entirely in Spanish. We had 937 people on Facebook log in. It was amazing. The two big questions were graduation and what are we doing next year in September related to school, because people are worried. And so I did share that, and I'll share very briefly today, and I can do so more at the next meeting, because I want to give the time to our great principal, Hernandez. Quickly, we have begun our reentry committees for September, and we're looking at 3 options: a full reentry of all of our students and all of our staff. Everybody's wearing masks this summer, socially distanced. We flattened the COVID-19 curve, and we get to come back in the beginning of school. Very important to our families and our children. The second option is we have a partial enrollment on each day. So the governor says you cannot have any more than 50% of your children in a classroom to bring the numbers down to around 12. And so on that scenario, some students will attend Monday, Tuesday. Other students will attend Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Friday we would have a full virtual for the entire school as well. I'll share more about that as we move forward, but we have reentry committees on health, academic, social, emotional supports for our families, and multiple different committees as well. Graduation, we have a lot planned. I just want to begin by apologizing. I won't be able to satisfy everybody's desire for graduation. Our goal was to have graduation at the Paramount. Our second idea was to have it at Torpy Field or Depew Field, but the governor's rules do not allow us to do that. We have 250 graduates times, 3 or 4 family members. We just could not do that in a responsible way during this pandemic. But what we do have is our high school team and our students put together on Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month, the 24th, we're going to have our virtual awards assembly for all of our honorees. On Thursday, the 25th, we are going to have a pizza giveaway. So all of the administrators are donating pizzas to our seniors. They'll come drive up. We'll hand them a pizza and a soda, and then they will leave, and we'll say hello on the way. And then on Thursday, on Friday, the 26th, we're going to have, thank you, City Manager Stewart, and to the council and the mayor, we're going to have a parade of seniors. So the family will drive, the parents will drive, our seniors will be in the car, and the community will come out, socially distanced, mask on, and they will wave and have signs, and we'll share the parade route. But they're going to start at Woodside, where they began, and end at the high school. And then on Saturday, we're going to have a ceremonial celebration where the 250 students will be assigned a time. They will come with their family. They're going to wear their caps and gowns. The family will dress up because it's pictures. We will have a stage where we will be on the stage, and the students will cross the stage. They'll receive their diploma jacket, and then they will take pictures with their families and balloons and regalia on the stage as well. And we'll have Peekskill Pride for them, and they'll have these wonderful picture opportunities. We'll have music, graduation style music as well. And so we're very excited about doing that as well. And then on Sunday, we are going to host a virtual graduation at 2 p.m. when we normally have graduation, and we'll have all of our valedictorian, salutatorian speeches. Myself, the mayor, will give our speeches, and then we have a special tribute, pictures of every senior crossing the stage virtually using their photos, and we will also have a special tribute video to the class of 2020. And the biggest question we got, and Stuart, you may get this question, is why aren't we doing a car graduation where 250 cars would come to one location and we would do a ceremony? Some other districts are doing what we're doing. Some other districts are doing that. And I know that there's a lot of, there's some discontent. And we heard from our students, and they wanted to keep it in Peekskill. They're really, and please let me know if I'm mistaken, but we could not find a place that could hold 250 cars that we could control, that doesn't take away business like Beach Center. We couldn't say you can't go to this, shopping at that time. So we couldn't find a place where we could host the 250 cars in the city of Peekskill. If I'm mistaken, please let me know. And our students didn't want to go outside. Many of our families don't have cars. If you drive around the city of Peekskill, I live here, there are 10 different cab companies at least. And our families, we see our families going to school in cabs, to our parent meetings in cabs. And so our students shared that some of our kids won't be able to participate that way. And so that was one of the reasons that we chose to follow what our students asked. We surveyed them. 88 of the students did share that they wanted this model and help design it. So I appreciate everyone. We're going to make it special. It's going to be beautiful, and we'll keep everyone informed. And then I'm going to end and turn it over to Crystal Hernandez, who is our esteemed principal at Oakside Elementary, and I'm going to turn it over to her. But before I do, June 9th is the last day for you to vote for our school budget and our board members. You should have received, if you're registered to vote, a ballot in the mail. It's an absentee ballot. It is absolutely confidential. Please make sure you put it in the mail. We need to receive it by June 9th at 5 p.m. And also, if you would like to hand deliver it on June 9th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., at the administration building across from the high school, we will be accepting those ballots. Bring all the envelopes and everything so that we can keep it confidential, but you can hand deliver it. That's the way I'll be delivering mine as well. Thank you so much, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Hernandez, who's going to give a brief update.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Mauricio, and thank you, Mayor Rainey, and thank you to everyone for having me today. Good morning to the great city of Peekskill. Buenos dias a Peekskill. I'm excited to be here today to share some of the wonderful things that have been happening at Oakside Elementary School on behalf of the Peekskill City School District. So Oakside, prides itself on its ability to foster love relationships with students and supporting relationships with students. And so when COVID-19 happened, that was at the forefront of our mind. And so since the beginning, our teachers, our staff members, Mrs. Woodley, myself, we've been reaching out to families, first and foremost, just to make sure that they are okay. We've been making sure that if they have a need, that we're able to fill it, doing our best to keep them informed of where they can locate resources. And even some of our staff have actually ventured out and brought some resources to the families that are not able to get out of their homes for whatever reason. And so love has been the establishment on which Oakside is built, and we will continue to do that. Every morning, myself or Mrs. Woodley do a morning announcement for all of our students across the building. And we first check in on them and remind them that we are here to love and support them. And then we remind them of their work for the day. We share some announcements with them. We announce every child's birthday, and we celebrate things that are happening in the school. In addition to that, oftentimes I will pose a question for our entire student body to think about, and they have the ability to be able to respond back to me on the program that we use called Flipgrid, and they're able to send back a video response so that we can engage in a conversation together. And that happens every single morning at Oakside Elementary School. Additionally, just as Dr. Mauricio spoke to, we are vigorously planning for September. We are planning for what it could look like in any different scenario to ensure a few things. We want to, number one, ensure that our kids are supported socially and emotionally. We want to make sure that whichever scenario we're in, whether we're full in school, whether we're out of school, or whether we're doing some sort of hybrid model, we want to make sure that they know that there are people here who love them, who support them, and who are ready and willing to help them in any area of their lives. And so we are working on plans to ensure that that stays put. And in addition to that, we are planning for rigorous and realistic instruction, as Dr. Mauricio always says, and making sure that our instruction is engaging. One of the difficulties that we faced is that, when kids are home and they're learning at home, sometimes during a warm day like today, they want to be outside riding their bike instead of working on their assignments. And so we are working with our teachers to ensure that all of our assignments are engaging and fun and also have real life application. Our teachers are working very hard to plan new types of instruction and work with new tools for technology so that we can make sure that instruction is the very best that it can be in either one of those scenarios. Additionally, this past Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., we hosted live our Welcome to Oakside video for our incoming second grade students who would be coming up from Woodside Elementary School. And it was so much fun. We did a wonderful tour of the building, and Mrs. Woodley and I spoke to the different things that the students would experience and the things that we have to offer at Oakside Elementary School. And it's a very fun video. You can actually access that video if you missed it. Don't worry, we have it for you right on the Oakside webpage. You can go right there, and you can also find it on my Twitter account at Ms. Hernandez PCSD. And lastly, I wanted to just mention that our elementary students across the board are working with the PTO of the Peekskill City School District to present a wonderful surprise gift to our seniors who are graduating. And it's sure to be a crowd pleaser. I'm not going to give it away because I want to keep it a surprise, but it is going to be a wonderful, wonderful gift for our seniors who are venturing off into this next season of their lives. So that's what we have happening at Oakside Elementary School. And for anybody who has an incoming child into Oakside, we are ready and excited to receive you. And we welcome you to Oakside, especially you, Mayor Rainey. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mauricio, and Principal Hernandez. Thank you so much for coming on our call and joining us today. Do we have any questions for
Yeah,
our
two quick questions. One is if there was a candidate Zoom forum for the Board of Education, if it happened, is there a way to see it? And how will the results, I guess, of the vote be disseminated? That's one question. And the other question was, are there other, it says that there are live teaching sessions for art and gym. Are there other types of classes that are planned for live production?
Yes. Wonderful questions. Thank you for those two questions. Yes, there was a candidate forum that took place this week. I believe it was on Tuesday. We have that on our website, and it's available. You can replay it at your leisure. And so I'm actually going to double check to make sure it's on there. We were getting it ready to repost it. So if it's not there, it'll be up there by today, and that is available for everyone to look at. The other question was related to sharing out the results. So on Tuesday, we will have a board meeting where we will share the results of the candidates and also the school budget. And we will accept those results as well as a board publicly. And then the last question, which is the $1 million question, which is how are students going to be educated in September? So this year caught some of us, as educators, a little bit off guard with the pandemic because it came so quickly. But many of our teachers were already at the secondary level, for example, were doing these types of lessons with students. So from now to the end of the year, our teachers are engaging in a uploaded lesson, a live lesson, and they will be doing that work. And they're going to give us feedback. We're going to prepare our professional development to continue to help them for September. And in September, we are ramping up our online educational program. We're working with our teachers union. They've been very supportive. And so next year, we know we have time before we open. And so we will continue to improve in that area. But we thank everyone for that question.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you again for coming back week after week and for all the work that you're doing for our children, our youth in this community. It's quite a task you all have in front of you, and you've been carrying it out so incredibly and masterfully. So we really appreciate all the hard work you've all been doing. And thank you for joining us again. I won't keep you all too much longer. I know that you have a lot of work you have to get back to. So thanks again. We'll go ahead and move.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll go ahead and move to our team at HRH Care. Ben Bolton, Nalini Purvis, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. And good morning, Peekskill. As an employee of HRH Care, I'd like to share that the mission of our organization as a community health center has its roots in the civil rights movement and the war on poverty, in addition to health equity. And organizationally, we stand with all of the efforts, both locally, nationally, and globally, to address the systemic issues that are currently affecting racial injustices. And, while this is an issue that's existed for longer than it really should have, this is also something that we recognize is happening in the midst of a global health pandemic. And I wanted to share with you really briefly some of the things that HRH Care has been doing in order to help to support the health and well-being of our communities, as well as our future plans before I hand things over to Ben. And so we are currently still offering testing at our HRH Care locations, in addition to, in some communities, offering, partnering with the New York State Department of Health to offer testing. And we are in the process of beginning to offer limited dental services within the next couple of weeks. And we have a target goal of being able to offer more clinical services on site. During this pandemic, we have continued to offer clinical visits and behavioral health visits through telemedicine, which continues for anyone who has healthcare needs and needs access. And there are a few ways that individuals are able to make appointments for a telemedicine visit, and that's through our website. And also, people have the capability of being able to text to request an appointment. And so we're really wanting to make sure that everyone understands that, you know, our doors remain open, especially during everything that's happening right now. And if there are healthcare needs that require an in-person visit, we still remain open for those types of things. And so, again, we continue to stand with the community in all the efforts. And I'd like to kind of turn things over to Ben so that he can share some additional updates.
Great. Thank you, Nina. I appreciate that intro. And again, we are part of the community, and we've been part of the community for 40 years, and really appreciate Mayor Rainey and everyone for giving us the opportunity to participate in these forums. As everybody knows, we're seeing a change in the epidemiology and in the path of the pandemic. More and more regions of New York State have been opened up, and we're expecting to see even the New York City region open up possibly as early as June 8th. Worldwide, there have been 6 million cases with about 300,000 deaths. In the U.S., there have been 1.8 million cases with 105,000 deaths. But we are beginning to see some changes, and that really comes out of the aggressive isolation regulations that each state has implemented. It's made an enormous difference. In Peekskill, there are 44 active cases, and when we think about the last time we reported, there were 108. Total cases in Peekskill are 869. We were seeing increases at greater than 5% per week. We're now down to about 3%. In Westchester County, there are 168,000 people were tested, and of that, it's about 20% are positive. That aligns fairly closely with New York State, where we have 2.2 million tested and 375,000 were tested positive. But to give some perspective on how we're seeing the success of isolation, back at the peak of the pandemic, we were seeing 11,000 positive tests every day in New York State. And as of June 2nd, there were just over 1,000 cases. So we're really seeing the effect of isolation and helping. Hospitalization rates are down significantly. Again, at the peak, we were close to 2,000 a day. Now we're around 350. So that's a huge drop there. We're seeing fatality rates drop as well. And again, there's a shift where we're seeing most of the fatalities moving toward the 70 years and older age group. 50% of the fatalities are above 70. We are, of course, in all of these, we're worried about what happens after the disease and risks around the disease, hypertension, diabetes, COPD, other conditions put people at higher risk. So we're very cautious about that, and we're learning more and more about the disease. Outcomes afterwards. You've heard there's some things coming out around pediatric cases and the after. So the standard of care and our responses are still changing. We are still in phase 1 limited reopening, and I really appreciate everyone on the call reminding us about social distancing and the use of masks and hand washing. The virus doesn't really care what we call the phases and how we move around. What we call the R0, or the reproduction rate, how quickly the virus can spread from one person to how many it spreads, has not changed since the beginning. We still don't have a vaccine or any other interventions. So we've seen the success of the isolation through these drops in rates, but as people start socializing more and becoming closer together, we're already seeing beginning of increases in rates again. So the importance of masks, of distancing, cleaning procedures is still really critical in trying to control the spread. And as those interventions can be used most effectively, it will allow more and more openings of different utilities, and to allow us to move out of phase one into some of the other phases to allow more businesses to reopen. But the masks and the other hygiene principles still remain in effect.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben Bolton, and thank you, Nalini, for joining us this morning. It's great to see you. It's great to have you. Do we have any questions for our HRH Care team?
I'm not seeing any here right now. I will say we usually get a question about antibody testing and its role. And maybe we'll speak briefly to that.
Absolutely. So there's a huge amount of press about antibody testing, and there's a lot of work going on around antibody testing. It is part of a testing panel that is offered within HRH's laboratory services, but it's very important to understand that right now, the presence of antibodies in serology, in blood work, or in anybody, there's no, the studies haven't been advanced enough to understand what that means. So you may have the antibody or you may not have the antibody, depending on where you are relative to the period of infection. We don't know yet if the antibody gives you any level of immunity. We don't know that even if you have the antibody and you might have some immunity, you might still be able to carry the disease. So the primary purpose of antibody testing and the effect of antibody testing right now is around studies for what's called plasma donation, where it's a byproduct of blood work. Where if you have that antibody, if it can be therapeutic for people who are suffering from the COVID-19, there's no assurance, no action that you can take. If you have an antibody test and it comes back positive, it doesn't clear you to change your behavior in any way. It shouldn't be used as a return to work tool or any other tool. It's really a research tool at this point. As the science advances, that may change, but right now that's the purpose of the testing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. And if I may just also add to that, because I actually took the antibody test a few weeks back myself because I was pretty sure that I had gotten it, tested positive, and I just recently, yesterday, I was able to donate plasma with the blood center. And they've been telling me that they've had a ton of appointments, which is great, of folks who have tested positive or have had a positive test on their antibody testing, and that it is being seen as helpful that folks who do need blood transfusions do seem to be getting back healthier or better quicker than those who had not been provided the blood transfusion with the plasma of folks who contain the antibody. So that is just what I was told yesterday at the blood center, that it does seem to be helpful. So if anyone's out there who believes that they had that they had COVID, or they know that they had COVID. I think it is a worthwhile effort to donate plasma if you have the capacity to do so.
And again, it's a little outside of HRH's role, but I know that the blood centers do have shortages, and even if you're not in a position to do a plasma donation, the blood centers do need donors, and so anyone who is available and able to do that, it's really important as part of the healthcare system to keep with those donations.
Thank you so much. Do we have any other questions?
Nope.
Andy? All right, well, thank you so much, Ben and Nalini, for joining us this morning and for all the work you're doing on behalf of our community to ensure that you're keeping us safe, and a big thank you to all your staff working day in and day out, all the essential workers there. We really appreciate all the work you're doing, and if there's anything, we have you on every week, but if there's ever anything that we can do as a city to help us, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you. Alrighty, so next up we have Shari Sanchez from the Legal Services of the Hudson Valley. Shari actually runs our Peekskill office, although I think that they're all working remotely right now. But Ms. Sanchez, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, City of Peekskill, and thank you for inviting Legal Services of the Hudson Valley. As you said, my name is Shari Sanchez, and I'm the attorney in charge of the Peekskill office. And we normally, when we are in our offices, our office is located in the Social Security building on One Park Place on the 2nd floor. However, as you alluded to, we are working 100% virtually, but we are 100% operational. Some of the services that we provide are eviction and foreclosure prevention, public benefits such as SNAP, temporary assistance, Medicaid, disability advocacy such as SSI and SSD appeals. We also assist in advanced planning such as last wills and testaments, healthcare proxies. We have a very robust domestic violence practice which includes securing orders of protection, child support, custody. We also have a very busy housing practice. It's our #1 practice area. And even though there's been a moratorium, there's a few different moratoriums depending on the type of housing. But generally for the state of New York, there is a moratorium on all eviction proceedings that's set to expire on the 18th of June. We've still been very busy at the agency, specifically out of the Peekskill office, assisting tenants in the city of Peekskill and the surrounding areas with illegal evictions that have been sadly taken place, with filing emergency orders at the Supreme Court. Well, the filing would be because the courts were closed, so we would file in a general location virtually and appear on behalf of these displaced tenants. There are other cases that we've been seeing, a lot of cases related to public benefits, the interruption of benefits, unemployment insurance benefits, questions about employment tied to either being terminated or released or laid off as it relates to COVID-19 and people's benefits, family leave, the extension under the CARES Act of unemployment insurance benefits. Other cases, sadly, we've seen many individuals coming or calling us, letting us know that they are, during this time of quarantine, living with their abusers and suffering from intimate partner violence. And we have also seen and had to have filed emergency orders of protection on behalf of individuals that live in the surrounding areas of Peekskill and in the city of Peekskill. Our office, generally if someone needs to contact us, we have a general intake line, which is 877-574-8529. That's open Monday through Thursday from 8 in the morning to 6 p.m. and Friday from 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. However, we have a bilingual paralegal that's available and can be called directly if anyone in the city of Peekskill has a question or a legal issue that they would like us to evaluate. And you can call our office directly at 914-402-2192. And the extension you want to dial is 193, where we have a person who's able to speak in English and Spanish and conduct an intake to assess eligibility for our services. Generally, our services are income-based. Our clients are normally live within 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. However, we have a myriad of funding sources that allow us to serve more than just individuals living under the 200% poverty guidelines, such as our domestic violence practice, our crime victim practice, our HIV unit, our LGBTQ unit, and our veterans unit, as well as our elder unit. So there's a host of units that we try to capture and serve the most clients that we can. The easiest way to find out if you're eligible for our services and if we can assist you is by contacting us directly.
Thank you so much, Shari. Thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you for sharing the many services that your office offers. I think that now more than ever, folks are finding themselves in situations where they need some guidance, especially around eviction, housing issues, and the different services that they can tap into. You know, given the fact that we're all facing a pandemic and really an economic crisis as well. So we really appreciate all your hard work. I'm sure you're being bombarded with a lot of requests right now. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Do we have any questions for Ms. Sanchez? No, okay.
Can I share the numbers that I had shared earlier?
Oh, absolutely, please.
Thank you. And again, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to share them? You mean for us to post on our website later on?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. We've got a COVID resource doc. We'd love to share any information you have on there as well. And I know, Shari, you and I spoke about having a town hall around housing specifically. So I look forward to organizing that with you in the coming weeks and putting that together, because I know that that's a big concern a lot of our folks have in the city of Peekskill. So I'm looking forward to that.
So am I. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. If we don't have any other questions, we'll move forward in the agenda. Lastly, I just wanted to note that we're really excited to be having our farmers market reopen this coming Saturday over on Bank Street. The market will be open from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. From 8 to 9, those hours will be specifically set aside for our elderly community members, those who, people with disabilities or folks who have compromised immune systems. We wanted to make sure to set aside a time where you didn't feel like you needed to be, that there wouldn't be too much of a crowd, although we do have, we have our new farmers market manager and a number of our bid members who are going to be on site to ensure that there is, that we try to diminish the amount of clusters that begin to accumulate, the amount of people that are within the farmers market at a certain set of time. And we've got a really great plan to ensure that folks are taking the right precautions and we're keeping everyone safe. So I encourage everyone to come out, come support our farmers market, again, from 8 a.m. to, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, I got a little distracted. From 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. We will be having a ribbon cutting at 10:30 a.m. It will be a short ribbon cutting, but if you want to come out and support that, feel free. I know we've got probably the longest ribbon cutting we've ever had in Peekskill scheduled for this Saturday, so that'll be exciting to see. And with that, I'll hand it over to the mayor to close us off.
All right, so I just want to say, as always, to the stakeholders that are on the call, thank you sincerely for taking time out of your mornings to be here with us. To those that are watching at home, please continue to share so other people can also witness and hear what's going on. For anyone who is interested in what the city of Peekskill is doing specifically to handle the COVID crisis, please feel free to check out our website, cityofpeekskill.com. For those of you who may not have access to the internet, or to our social media page. Most of the information and these videos will also be available on the city government channel. So other than that, I encourage everyone to continue to be safe out there. Social distancing is key. If you have any questions for the city, please contact the mayor's office, the city manager's office, or any members of the council, and we'll be glad to respond or help you out with any information via email or call the city direct hotline, city's direct phone line. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Be safe and God bless.